Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rich. I was able to go ahead and get the alignment completed on the vehicle, and they were able to get it within spec. So I'm on my way to the tire shop this morning to go ahead and get my tires installed. So I'm continuing to use the OEM wheels that came with my vehicle, and to do that, because of the positive offset that's there, I potentially might need a wheel spacer to kind of set them out a little bit, because of the width of the tire might come into contact with the upper control arm. So I purchased the thinnest wheel spacers that I could find that were hub centric, because I don't really want the wheels to poke out, and I've noticed that a lot of people's experiences with wheel spacers causes them to have issues with rubbing in the front of the fender and the back of the fender and the cab mount itself. By keeping the wheel as close to the stock location and tucked up underneath the fender as much as possible, you lessen the chance of potentially having rubbing issues. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish. So I'm gonna be using those wheel spacers only if I need to. If I don't need to, I'm not gonna use them. I just purchased them in case I do. The folks at Discount Tire were pretty good about, indicating that they would test out the tire, make sure that it actually fits correctly, and that we don't have any issues before they install the rest of them. So hopefully we can test out one of the front wheels and make sure everything's fitting properly, and then we can go ahead and mount the rest of the wheels. If not, we'll go ahead and use the spacer, and hopefully that will 3/4 of an inch space will give me enough room to allow them to fit. So we pulled one of the tires off, and we're going to go ahead and have them mounted up so we can install it and test it out to see if it's going to hit the upper control arm. If it's going to hit the upper control arm, we're going to add a spacer to it to see if that'll clear it. Let me show you the spacers that we got. So I was able to get some medium strength Loctite. I also have the red, which is the heavy duty strength, but you definitely want at least the medium strength, because you want to be able to remove it if you have to. And these are the wheel spacers that I got. These are 3/4 inch wheel spacers. That if we need to install them, then we can, but the way you install them is this nut goes on the original OEM thread studs, and they fit on there, and those get thread locked, so they get Loctited to the hub itself, and then this is what the wheel attaches to. The only thing that I'm worried about is that the original stud will stick out past that, and the OEM wheel has a pocket that you can that the original wheel will be able to fit in that, over that thread area, but potentially my spare rim will not have that pocket because it's a stamped steel, and I'm probably going to have to get another OEM, like an off-road type wheel, to make it and put it underneath for my spare so that it will fit. So that's something that we're going to take a look at and see if we need to, if I'm going to need to buy another rim, so that I have a spare in case I do need a spare at some point in time. So here's the 4 that are going to get mounted. Well, he's mounting the first one right now, and we're going to go ahead and test that one out. What you need to keep in mind when you're installing it is to make sure that They only go on the wheel one way, so there's only one outside and there's a specific inside, so the tire has markings to tell you whether it's the outside or the inside. I believe it shows, should show on here. Yeah, see, here you have outside, so it tells you that this needs to be facing out. And that's what you just need to make sure when you're getting them mounted, to make sure that the installer knows that. And we can go ahead and kind of turn side to side to kind of see what we're getting.
So I'm gonna bolt this up real quick. Then I'm gonna make sure those lugs are nice and snug. Then we can drop it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then play with it a little bit.
Okay, sounds good. Is it tight?
Hey. That's close. Feel it back there?
Yeah, I'm just gonna take a look and see. I mean, you got about.
You can run it. Honestly, you can run it.
Yeah, I'm just worried if you go up, it's gonna touch. It's not touching, but I'm wondering if it flexes some, that it'll come up and touch it on the control arm back here.
No, typically for the control arm, once it moves around, that's a pretty straight up and down movement. So, turn it all the way.
You got it in neutral?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got about a quarter inch of room.
So if it comes up, is what I'm wondering, will it touch if this gets pushed up a little bit, will it touch right here? Because it's kind of a poke there, you know, the bulge from the wheels, I'm wondering.
I personally don't think so.
Yeah.
But right now, at full lock, I'd be more worried about touching the frame right here.
Oh, back there, you're saying? Touching the frame or touching the control arm?
No, touching the frame right here. It's ever so slightly touching the frame. Turn the other way. Other way, yeah, you're good. And then full lock until you touch the control arm here, and then the sway bar over here.
So maybe bringing it out that spacer might...
I'd run the spacer.
Alright, let's try it.
You're good. Yeah, having it pull out that 3/4 inch, you'll get away with everything.
Yeah, okay. Alright, I appreciate it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and add the spacer and see what we get. So we put the wheel spacer on now, and we've put it so there's plenty of room up the top, and we're not getting any movement. I got about an inch right here, and there's nothing hitting in the back because it was hitting the frame before. It's not hitting in front or the back, so I think we're good.
It's kind of close right here.
Oh, I see what you're saying there.
Lock to lock on this side. So, like I said, it's one of those fine lines of dancing to how far you want it to poke out. And how much you think you're actually be on full lock on a trail.
So you're thinking I might have to go to like a 1 inch would probably get me closer to what we need?
Possibly. Bring it the other way. And that gives you, I can fit my hand back there without an issue.
Yeah.
And then you're not touching like it. Go, turn it back just a little bit. Stop right there. And you've got the handle in the gap here. That'd be the only thing I'd see if you did that a little bit thicker of a spacer to help you clear the control arm right here. Is just to massage those back and you get that wider spacer. But as of right now, in terms of driving and getting it on the road, this is going to help without having it touch.
Okay. So I think just to get this home and to be able to use it for now, I'm going to go ahead and use the 3/4 inch spacers, but I'm going to go ahead and buy some 1 inch spacers to clear that little bit of the control arm that's in front that we were noticing some potential issue there, and that should solve the issue. Really appreciate the guys at Discount Tire, working with me and making sure that the fitment is correct and doing their due diligence. So we're going to go ahead and get the rest of them installed, and we'll go from there. So paid for the tires, got them back home, and wanted to give you my initial thoughts on the tires themselves, on how they rode. Initially, they felt really good. I didn't have any kind of vibration issues or the chunky, growling issues from being a more aggressive tire than what I had previously. As far as power, I didn't notice much of a difference on the power loss. I do have a manual transmission, so it may be an issue for people with an automatic transmission because the automatics may be hunting for gears more so than the manual transmission. But initially, I don't notice a whole lot of difference. Now, there is definitely more weight to these tires than my other tires. The other tires were right at around 40 pounds, maybe a little less than 40 pounds. These are at 66 is what they say they are. At least a 20-pound increase per wheel. So that definitely is going to make an impact. I haven't obviously had a chance to run a full tank of gas, so once I get a full tank of gas, I'll really know whether or not I'm getting the same kind of gas mileage that I was before. But I don't expect that I would be getting the same. It's just, I don't think it's going to happen. I really liked that these had a lot of sipes in them, and that was one of the big things that I wanted. I wanted to make sure that a tire had really good channels for water dispersion in the rain, and the sipes were good for both the rain and snow. So that's why I chose these tires versus, say, a BFG. The BFGs, obviously, they're a good tire and they're very popular, and I like the look of them. But I've heard different experiences with them, not being so great in the rain. And this one had really tall tread blocks, 1932s. Is the depth of them when they're new, so definitely has a lot of tread life. We're hoping that they'll last a good long time, whereas a BFG only has I think initially 16-30 seconds is the start. So definitely a little more tread block, a little heavier, required a lot more weight. I mean, they were able to balance them fine, but it did take quite a bit of weight. But there's a lot of rubber here to have to balance out. So that's something that maybe some of the other tires don't have that issue, and we'll just have to monitor it over the life of the tire. So they are 3-peak mountain rated tires, so they should be good in the snow. But I think that that's good, and I want that. But I think a lot of these tires are now getting to be where they're 3-peak mountain rated, so they're rated for snow. So I don't think it's like anything that's unique, and it may be more of a kind of a gimmick thing for tire manufacturers to say that they're 3-peak mountain rated. What does that mean? I don't know, to be honest with you. But I just know that the siping, the amount of sipes in the tire, definitely contributes to whether or not it has good biting edges to be able to get better traction in wet weather and winter weather. My initial thoughts with the spacer, as I was looking at the spacers themselves, I opened up the box. It is not hub centric. I was misinforming you when I was at the discount tire store. I thought they were hub centric. The hub-centric ones have a small lip that holds the wheel in place so that you don't have to make sure that the wheel is centered on the actual hub itself. This will wander around, but these lug nuts keep it centered. So it should work, but I am concerned a little bit about that, and I purchased a 1-inch spacer because the 1-inch spacer does have a hub-centric lip on the front of it to account for that, and it's going to bring me out a little bit further. I don't know if I'm going to use them or not. I bought them. We're going to check them out and see what happens. The way I've got it turned right now, I got really good room up here. I got a pretty good room up here in this area. The only area of concern where the manager at Discount Tire was kind of concerned about is that if we really stuff the wheel up into into the fender that I might touch up in here, just on this bulge of the tire, not necessarily right here, because I can fit my hand almost all the way down in there, so that's probably a good 3/4 of an inch space, but as it comes up, it might get much tighter. He wasn't sure whether it would touch or not, but he was thinking that if I got a 1/8 spacer, that it would probably solve the issue. And since the 1-inch spacer is hub centric, I will likely use that if it doesn't cause any problems up front. So I'm not touching right now, but it's really close on the front side. On the back side, having no issues whatsoever. So you can take a look on this other side. Not having any issues there. I got about 3/4 of an inch space. So I wanted to give you a side profile look of the wheels with the 3/4 inch spacer in the front, and giving you an idea of how much it sticks out from stock appearance. So it's still tucked up underneath the wheel well. Pretty much of, most of the tread is taken care of. If I go to a 1-inch spacer, it'll definitely push it out a little bit more, but not a whole lot more. But as a comparison, you can look at the back, because I don't have the spacer on in the back, and you can see it's tucked up a little more so without the spacer on there. So if I keep the 3/4 inch spacer, that is gonna require me to get a new rim for my spare tire because of those the OEM threads on the wheel studs sticking out past the actual spacers themselves and not allowing the rim to sit flush with that stamped steel. So I have my my fifth wheel still unmounted because until I get those 1-inch spacers to kind of see what happens, if they don't fit properly the way I want it to, I'll probably stick with these 3/4 inch spacers. But I will keep you updated as to how those end up fitting, and then I'll share with you the results of that when I get those. But I did want to share that with you just to show you my experience of the way these tires are fitting on the vehicle and what you might run into with trying to fit 285s on a vehicle like this. And obviously every tire is a little bit different. They're all going to be a little bit different in terms of their specs, how much their section width versus the tread width. Even though it's a 285, 75, 16, all brands are not created equal, and some are a little bit narrower, some are a little bit wider. This one happens to be pretty wide in terms of the section width, so having to push it out a little bit more than maybe, say, the Falcon Wild Peak or maybe the BFG or something like that. So I'm just trying to give you my experience of what a Mickey Thompson will look like, at least with the stock rim, and using a 3/4 inch spacer. That actually gives me an effective offset of a +5. So it's the stock rim is a +25, and that 3/4 inch spacer is basically a 20 millimeter spacer. So 25 minus 20 gives you a positive offset of 5. So that's essentially what I have. A lot of folks run a 0 offset rim, and if I use a 1-inch spacer, that's basically what I'm going to get, is a 0 offset completely, and it'll probably work. We'll just have to see what it looks like. So that's what we got right now. Really pleased with the look of the tires. I think it looks great. I like the way it's standing right now. It does have a little bit of a rake, but I don't think it's too high. I was thinking it was going to be kind of high and look kind of funny, but I think with the new tires on there that it's a pretty good height. It still gives me good clearance, but it's not too high up. So hopefully this is helpful if you're interested in doing something like this, and just giving you a sense of what the Mickey Thompson tires look like on a Toyota Tacoma, because I don't see a lot of folks out there with them on there, or I just haven't seen a lot of videos or anything like that out there. So I just wanted to be able to share my experience. So hopefully this is useful to you all. If you have any questions about the tires, or my experience in general, or just things that you're worried about and just want to know maybe an answer to that I may have missed on this, leave a question in the comments. I'm happy to try and answer. If you thought this was useful, hit the like button. It certainly helps, and also subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more updates on this and other projects that I might be doing in the future. All right.